MLS Next Pro is in Harriman, Utah at Zions Bank Stadium. Real Monarchs look to win their second match in a 3-game homestand, while Houston Dynamo 2 look to end their 4-game road trip with their first win in regulation. Houston Dynamo 2 is at 0-4-2, visiting Real Monarchs, who sit at 2-4-1. Hello and welcome, I'm Ryan Lee. So happy to be with you this evening, and we have two sides who are really looking to make a push in the Western Conference, as Dynamo 2 and Real Salt Lakes. They've had a bit of an up and down season starting things off, but as we enter match week 9, we can take a quick look at the standings and how things have gone throughout this point. But to say the least, these two sides, they're both coming off of non-regulation winning results, and that's really affected things in the long run. It can really help create momentum in this match for what is to come. As we take a look at these standings going into match week 9, Real Monarchs and Dynamo 2 are both below the playoff line. But if the Monarchs can secure a win in any fashion, either in PKs or regulation, a PK win would give them a 3-way tie at 10 points with Town FC and Timbers 2. However, a regulation win for Real Monarchs can push them all the way up to 11 points, sliding them just above the Town FC in that number 7 slot. Houston Dynamo, they only have their points on account of 2 draws. They earned their first win against Town FC last week, however, that was in a shootout. They're the only team in the West without a regulation win, and going into the day, they were one of 3 teams without a regulation win, but that's turned into one of 2 teams, with Carolina Core winning earlier today. Real Monarchs, they look to change things up, and they're really looking to shift things around with their lineup. They've had 7 changes since their last match versus LAFC2. The only true question here is to keep in net. They're going to stick with William Mackey, and the question is, after going 0 for 3 on the stops versus LAFC, let's take a look at how he responds. In the addition of Noel Kalaskan in the midfield, he got an assist versus LAFC last week as well. They want to keep him as the catalyst of that Real Monarchs offense. Now for Houston Dynamo 2, they're going with a little bit of a different approach. Kenny Bundy wants to keep things the same, and they don't want to tinker things around too much. But the big thing that Dynamo 2 has really done is a recent addition, Jordi Bourbano, over in that top slot, number 70. He's not only making his MLS Next Pro debut, he got signed earlier today. The 20-year-old from Ecuador looks to bring some pace, bring some speed into this offensive unit that has really struggled to produce goals. In fact, they're second last in the league in terms of goals scored. The addition of Jordi Bourbano looks to make things go for Kenny Bundy's side. As we take a look at center pitch, we can see Dynamo 2 and Real Monarchs taking the pitch. It is a 46-degree day in Salt Lake, Utah, where there is a 10-mile-per-hour wind coming from the near side to the far side of the pitch. Real Monarchs in the blues going from right to left, while Houston Dynamo go from left to right to open things off here in Utah. Ryan Lee and our entire MLS Next Pro broadcast crew here in Zions Bank Stadium, where these two sides are both coming off of non-regulation results. Houston earning their first win of the season. That came off of PKs versus Town FC. That one ended in a 1-1 draw after 90, where they eventually would take things 5-3 after the PKs. And with Real Monarchs, it was a back-and-forth affair. They took a couple of lead, but blown them both times. They not only scored first, they also got that 2-1 lead, but at the end of the day, LAFC2 walked away with a 3-2 win right here in Zions Bank Stadium. Our officials for today's match, Gerald Flores is going to be our head referee in the yellow, walking all around, while Eric Kruger and Jacob Harrell, the assistant referees, and Rachel Sweet will be our fourth official, taking care of our stoppage time and our substitutions as we have the first corner kick of the match going to Houston Dynamo. Gonzalez serves this one in, gets headed on before it gets blocked away by Real Monarchs. Another swipe at the ball, trickles its way right towards William Mackey. Mackey, the question for him is how he will respond. He was unable to get a single stop on LAFC2 in that match on Cinco de Mayo. He was 0 for 3 in that match the last time that he was out there. And it's really telling for Mark Lowry how much he trusts a guy like William Mackey, just having that trust in him throughout the entire way through. He's played a couple games in the most recent stretch. He's played the last 3 matches. He's gone 1-2-0 throughout those couple of games that he's been called upon. And he looks to get things back on the right track for Real Monarchs. Advancing upward goes Elijah Paul. Looking for a starter step. He gets around his man. Paul with the centering feed. Deflection in front goes wide. And a swing and a miss for Matthew Bell. He gets a good shot to get Valdez looking, but could not get it on frame. As we take a second opportunity, that centering pass from Matthew Bell was right on the money, but that swing was just a little bit off target and potentially could have given Real Monarchs their first goal in only 2.5 minutes. Monarchs with it back again, but they're just going to retreat this one all the way back, and it's going to get played by Bobby Pierre. Storley. Continues to play this one around as Monarchs look to work the outside. They play this one all the way back. It's a quick pass upward as Dynamo continue to press up ahead. And the question for these two sides is who's really going to be able to strike first. Both of these sides have not necessarily been the sharpest in terms of scoring goals. They're both in the bottom 5 in terms of total goals scored. And they're also essentially middle of the pack when it comes to allowing goals. So the two offenses who have been stuck in a couple of road bumps in the last couple of matches, someone's going to be able to break up ahead. The question is who and when that opportunity will come. unable to corral. That was Houston Dynamo, so it comes back away for the Real Monarchs. Bell splits it out wide. He has a man available. As a little hesitation comes. Starter step, fires, and that one just goes a little bit wide. Dialed in on that play. On the white side goes Benny Redzik, and he tried to take a swing, but he just went wide for his first shot attempt. As these two sides, they really enjoy trying to take swings at the ball. The question is, how many will hit? With Real Monarchs, they take a lot of shot attempts. However, not many of them tend to hit the net. And with Houston Dynamo 2, the key question is, how many of their shots will hit the net? Almost half of the Houston Dynamo shot attempts tend to be on frame. They just don't tend to shoot it very often, as they are within the bottom 3 in terms of shot attempts as a whole. But they win the set piece off of the foul. A Dynamo 2 player is down as they look to go quick, but a little bit too quick. As one of the Dynamo 2 players is still a little slow, but eventually gets back on his feet and his own power. That's Sila. So Sila's back up. He got an assist versus Town FC in that lone goal. And now Dynamo have an opportunity for the set piece deep in the Real Monarchs end. There goes Joe Flores trying to control traffic as this one gets served in. Headed on, but that one gets poked away by the Real Monarchs. Second opportunity for Dynamo. They keep this one in. Held in by Sila. Sila serves, deflected on, but that one is held on by William Mackey. Taliscan has to turn away before Mackey has to clear. Houston pokes this one up before it just comes out of play. Past the halfway line, so Real Monarchs will get a throw in, as they really had those first couple of opportunities in that first 3 to 4 minutes, but after that set piece, it really seemed like Dynamo were gonna be able to have their opportunity to potentially break through first. As the lob of a throw-in comes for Elijah Paul. Farnsworth sends it in. Just past the feet of Bell, but it will provide the Monarchs with their first corner of the match. One win in the past 4 matches for Real Monarchs. They look to end that streak. Took a win on the 28th versus Vancouver Whitecaps 2 before losing to LAFC 2 as they serve this one in. Shot was deflected off of a partial block. Still in play, no one able to clear before it gets swung at it and away. Gets kept in by Omar Alba. Alba goes end to end. He wanted Paul, but Dynamo able to disrupt things. Brooklyn Reigns with the service. He splits it out wide. Another chance for Sargent to carry along. Sargent wants to go for the cross, but it goes way too far for anybody to potentially retrieve. He was looking for Aksan Arzu on the receiving end, but it was a little too much juice on that. Chasing after it is Redzik. Lost this one all the way back for Pierre. Redzik again. Getting tangled up on a double team before it gets stripped away by Dynamo. It goes in Nguema. Dynamo continuing to disrupt, but maybe a little bit too aggressive on that last tackle from Brooklyn range. Houston Dynamo yet to win in regulation all season long. Started off the season with 4 consecutive losses in regulation before getting a penalty loss versus North Texas. And then they followed up with that PK win versus Town. Redzik out wide, chasing is Alba. Just barely keeps it in play. Alba on the crosser, but it's held on by Xavier Valdez. Arzu wants to play this one back before it finds the feet of Awudesu. And an opportunity for the captain, Sebastian Rodriguez. Lifts it up ahead. Arzu getting scrappy with Farnsworth. Farnsworth able to get the strip and sends it off for Redzik. Monarchs, they've had a little bit of a back and forth season here. Haven't really gotten a consistent string of wins or consistent string of losses either way. They've just kind of been playing pong back and forth with the win column and the loss column back and forth. Started off the season with a win in PKs against Timbers, and then they take a loss, take another win, and then follow up with a pair of losses. And then they get a win versus Whitecap and a win versus LAFC2. They haven't really been able to find any sort of consistency either way. And when you have a team like that where there's not really any sort of consistent winning or consistent losing, it can get tough to kind of gauge at what point your season's at, because there is none of that. Pass a little bit too far, so it's getting chased by David and Nguema. Sargent. Dynamo look to go quick. Arzu has an opportunity for Diego Gonzalez, but couldn't quite hold on. Steal it back. Taken away Sebastian Rodriguez before he plays all it back from Nguema for Awudesu. Diego Gonzalez. He scored that game-tying goal against Town FC on Friday in the 90+6 to force the PKs, where Houston Dynamo would eventually win it in PKs. Takes the feedback for Sila. Sargent drills it in, poked away. Redzik gallops along the near side, holds and waits for reinforcements. Has a man Kalaskan. And with Real Monarchs, they kind of want to slow this pace down a little bit. They know that Houston Dynamo, they're going to come fast, they're going to come with some pace. They can really try to push the play up the field and really try to beat you with some speed. With Real Monarchs, they're kind of going to try to pick their poisons in some moments. As you see, almost every single time someone in a blue shirt takes a pass, they get pressed really aggressively. That time was maybe a little bit too much so, as they'll draw a foul. of discussion after that foul at the center circle. As we mentioned earlier, both these two sides, they get their opportunities in, they just more or less tend to struggle to put the ball in the back of the net, but a quick swing goes as Omar Alba wanted to go from long range. And as we mentioned earlier, there's a 10-mile-per-hour wind kind of swirling through, as we can see with some of the flags and some of the kind of indicators that Mother Nature could potentially play its part. It is 46 degrees outside, so you see a lot of players wearing the long sleeves or potentially the gloves. They try and stay warm in conditions like this up in Utah. Houston Dynamo look to carry onward. Stripped away by Kalaskan. And Bell looks to shake off his man, and he does. Bell dumps it away for Paul before it gets interjected the other way. A quick touch up it goes. Bourbano takes a big stumble by Pierre, and Pierre will draw the first yellow card of the match. Bobby Pierre, with his third yellow card of the season, took that hip check on the new addition for Dynamo 2, Jordi Bourbano. Bourbano took the end of that collision, 20 years old, from Ecuador. Last played in the Ecuadorian League with El Nacional, where he played 6 matches and got a goal throughout that. He was signed earlier today to be that offensive threat, and it was perhaps felt a little bit by Bobby Pierre. So it produces the set piece for Houston, another one pretty far into the Real Monarchs end. A pair of shots apiece, 17 minutes in for both sides, only one on target from the Dynamo. Sent in, headed out. Gonzalez had a nice service, but couldn't quite find his man. And then it's a quick stumble, a little bit aggressive on that ball. There's David Ingrama. This portion of tonight's match is presented by Intermountain Health, the power of we. A little bit too far as a whistle stops the progress made by Real Monarchs as they really look to make something go. Across for Wakatuya. And a quick little pirouette from Sila. Sargent plays it back. Dynamo keep this one alive. Wakatuya pitching it up ahead. And no one quite able to get a clean possession as they scrap right outside the center circle. Trying to keep it aligned was Reigns before it gets stripped away by Paul. And a little bit too much scrapping just outside of the center circle. And a back and forth for Kalaskan and Reigns. A yellow card goes. That's going to go in the direction of Brooklyn Reigns. And I'm a little surprised that after all that scrapping, we didn't maybe see one on the other side.
Yellow card, Houston,
and just kind of that pushing back and forth. It might have been that jersey tug on that little neck area and shove from Brooklyn Reigns. Noah Kalaskan comes off unscathed. But Reigns gets booked for the first time in 2024. Alba looking for an opportunity as he pitches this one back. Hezarkhani couldn't quite keep that one within the pass defender, so the flag comes up. Quick scrap at center, no one quite able to get clear possession, so Dynamo look to loft this one up ahead before it's stripped away. MLS Season Pass is the place to catch Houston's next game on May 22nd. Don't miss a minute of the action when Dynamo Dos welcome City 2 to Sabre Cat Stadium. We'll have it for you starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. Houston Dynamo taking a couple of hits in the last couple of weeks, considering that loss last Friday, with that PK win on the draws rather on Friday, and then you have their A squad in the US Open Cup getting eliminated yesterday by Detroit City FC of the USL Championship in penalty kicks. Went all the way to round 11, so you're going keeper v keeper on the dot. But Houston was unable to convert, and then Detroit City FC sealed their fate for the first cup set in the fourth round of the US Open Cup. And then you have Dynamo Dos, who have yet to win in regulation, but they look to potentially snag those 3 points from Real Monarchs, who with a win can elevate themselves up into a playoff spot, can climb above Town FC and Portland Timbers with a regulation win. There'll be a three-way tie with 10 points apiece between Timbers and Town FC. But Real Monarchs look to continue on. Galloping ahead was Hezarkhani. Drops out wide, Alba. Hezarkhani into the box, takes a swing at it, but that one gets partially deflected, and making the dive goes Xavier Valdez. Quick ball, Sheridan. Cross for Awadesu. And a quick ball, having to be aware with it. Mackey able to get the snag before it gets touched up on by Arzu. Exxon Arzu from the Honduras. He scored a goal in each of his first 2 matches played of the regular season. Though it was the season opener versus Sporting Kansas City 2 and LAFC 2. He scored a goal in each of those matches, and he's gone a little cold since then, but he looks to get up back on the score sheet by trying to pressure Mackey a little bit, by trying to get into the box quite a bit. Just really trying to pick his spots and really trying to be smart with the ball. But right now, with the ball is Matthew Bell. Kaliskan centering in front. No one's able to take the shot. Hesitation, fires off of a body up in front. Dynamo unable to clear, still back in their own end. Owadesu for Valdez. Owadesu playing a little bit with fire as no one able to get it clear, as Arzu couldn't corral, and it comes out of play for a Monarchs throw. This portion of tonight's match is presented by America First, the official credit union of Real Salt Lake. America First has game-changing solutions for every financial need, so join the winning team today at americafirst.com. Real Monarchs looking for a winning formula as they got Redzik on the near side. Redzik scrapping with Reigns. Reigns getting scrappy again. No foul called, advantage played for Monarchs. Farnsworth sends into the box, swatted at before it goes overhead off the leg of Hezarkhani. The goal kick comes up for Houston Dynamo, but just a lot of opportunities here for Real Monarchs. If they just basically even doing a lot of the same, but it's been working in their favor. Just kind of going from the outside, going in, trying to get those crossers into the box, right around that penalty spot, that 6-yard dot. It's a lot of high danger opportunities. I mentioned it a little bit earlier, Real Monarchs, they take a lot of opportunities, but they don't necessarily hit the net. And with Houston Dynamo, they don't take a lot of opportunities, but when they do, they're usually high danger opportunities. As it's Sila, gets dragged down. Dylan, the guilty party, and they want to go quick. Sargent charges ahead. Sargent blocked away. As I looked like it was Keller Storley who got a touch. Kieran Sargent wanting to make things go, and it's off of the leg of Bobby Pierre to go up and over, and it provides an opportunity for Houston to get their first corner of the match. Electing to go short. Gonzalez tries to drive, gets a block. Still in the possession of Dynamo, shipping this one up. Second opportunity goes, and that one just gets sent away all the way back towards Valdez. Valdez had a strong match versus Town FC2 on Friday. Stopped 2 of 3, and also had to be coming up in big moments as he also was a contributor in that PK shootout. Arzu holds it. Farnsworth watching. Arzu into the box before it comes out again. Bobby Pierre with another key block, but also comes out of play for another Houston corner. Houston getting their first points of the season off of penalty kicks. But they have yet to close the deal in regulation time. Diego Gonzalez off the corner can potentially feed this one in for the opener. Fed in, headed up. Unable to find anyone. It gets poked away by Kalaskan. Dynamo. Try again. Bell pokes it out. And Dynamo looking to charge ahead. It's Rains. Rains gets slide down, and it will produce a yellow card against the Real Monarchs. This time it's Elijah Paul who gets booked. Brooklyn Rains took it over off of the halfway line before Paul made an executive decision to just stop Rains right in his tracks. And another free kick coming for Houston Dynamo, well in the Monarchs' end. Elevated, Sargent, no second chance there. Still loose, and that one goes away thanks to Benny Redzik. Benny Redzik, he's had a really solid season so far for the 21-year-old from Carrollton, Texas. Scored his first goal versus LAFC in MLS Next Pro play. As a pop-up, gets dropped down for Rains. Rains wanting to drive ahead. He was looking for his new teammate Bourbano, as Arzu tries to keep this one in play, but it comes out and will produce a Real Monarchs throw. Bobble that center pitch before Mwakatuya Has that one stripped away by the Monarchs, and here comes Paul. Elijah Paul and Isaac Mwakatuya. Drives right to left. Redzik. Bell. Matt Bell couldn't quite save it off the end line. So Xavier Valdez will send this one away. As we are at the half-an-hour point between the Real Monarchs and Houston Dynamo 2. Zeros across the board. This portion of the match is brought to you by Zions Bank, the official bank of Real Monarchs. Real Monarchs had to go back to defend here in Zions Bank Stadium in Harriman, Utah. This is the third straight time that Real Monarchs have played at the stadium. They opened up this three-game homestand with a win versus Vancouver before taking a loss in that snow-plowed pitch on Sunday. Just one of the best visuals from the stadium, the snow peaks and the orange ball, but the ball gets served up for Paul. Paul shoots and goes overhead. That's another shot attempt for Real Monarchs. They've got 6 shot attempts, 0 have gone on net. The through ball for Elijah Paul. He was all alone. He had his man beat, Mwakatuya, but it was just a little bit too high. And this is kind of very reminiscent to that point that I made earlier. That going into today, of 87 shot attempts, 32 have gone on target. That's a touch under 35%. Houston Dynamo, they are on net well over 40% of the time. That puts them in the top 10 of MLS Next Pro. So when you have a team who kind of takes those swings but cannot quite hit the net, it could potentially spell trouble, because for a team like Real Monarchs, if you're not in the vicinity of Xavier Valdez's net, what that does is allows Valdez to just send the ball the other way on the goal kick. So it gives them opportunity after opportunity to replay. But Bell, he looks to make a play before he just retreats it back for Kalaskan. Quick foul at the center circle. Real Monarchs will take over. Don't miss Carolina Corps' first ever home match on June 1st when they welcome in Huntsville City to Truist Point. Coverage begins at 7:30 Eastern, only on MLS Season Pass. Carolina Corps having a nice win earlier in the evening versus Atlanta in Atlanta. That's their first win in regulation for Carolina Corps. They did win on the PKs a couple of weeks ago. However, that will go down as a draw, but their first time in the win column since their Open Cup match on the 21st of March. Swing in overhead, it goes again. Elijah Paul wanted it again. As he saw his shot earlier, that one was over. He tried to go for it again, and Paul went too high once more. And it could be potentially as to why some of the struggles have come for Real Monarchs in terms of stringing together a consistent set of wins. Their 8 goals is the 4th lowest total in MLS Next Pro. However, the good thing for them, I suppose, is that they're playing against an opponent who has also struggled to get goals of their own. Houston Dynamo 2, they have the 2nd lowest total of goals with 6. Too far, so Monarchs will play this one back. Being chased down by Urbano. Kalaskan. Finds a man, Omar Alba. The 20-year-old from Panama just sends that one in the general direction of Valdez, and he'll scoop it up. Dynamo look to gain some speed. Arzu gets dragged down. Ball comes out of play. The only whistle is for the throw, as surprising little protests from Houston. Just a nice tackle to poke it away. Goes Zach Farnsworth. 21-year-old using that 6'1" frame to poke it off the legs of Exxon Arzu. That ball just tight ropes along the near sideline and stays in play. Range, a little bit too far. Caliscan, all the way back for Storley. Alba drives forward for Hazarkani. Hazarkani gets tangled up, and he goes down alongside Sebastian Rodriguez. A little bit of communication coming from the sidelines between Kenny Bundy and Mark Lowry. Mark Lowry in his first season has spent the last several years in the MLS Next Pro. Spent the last season in MLS Next Pro, but has spent the prior 6 in the USL Championship. Spent 3 seasons with the Indy 11 and the 3 prior to that with the El Paso Locomotive. As currently Paul looks to chug ahead. Paul in front, can't quite get the connection with Hazarkani. So Valdez coming way out of his box to just box out Hazarkani to force the Houston throw. Almost potential danger there for Xavier Valdez. If that one could have potentially gotten corralled by Aiden Hazarkani, that could have potentially spelled so much danger with him well out of his box. But now potential dangerous opportunity for the Monarchs as they take a throw deep inside of Dynamo territory. Possession close to 50%. High loft, headed down. Second opportunity juggled by Bell before it gets sent away by Houston. Pierre connects with Redzik. Monarchs look to contain possession. So we're in the 38th minute of play between Real Monarchs, Houston Dynamo 2, no score. Both of these two are well in the negatives in terms of goal differential, and part of that is not just due to their struggle to score goals, but they're not even necessarily in terms of the lowest marks in the league in terms of allowing goals. It's just that when you combine the two, it makes things hard. But Bell tries to push things ahead. It's blocked away by Owadesu. And the second chance goes. Rodriguez couldn't send it away. Held in by Caliscan. Dylan up ahead. Paul can't get the touchdown. Still in play. It's a race for it. And a spin and turn for Omar Alba. Just barely keeps that one in play for Griffin Dillon. And a strip and a gallop from Diego Gonzalez. Wanted to touch that one up ahead for Bourbano. Houston wanted a whistle, but they won't get it, so it comes towards Matthew Bell. Matthew Bell charges up ahead, leaves it off. Paul gets the touch on. but once again is too high on the frame. 40 minutes in, Real Monarchs, they've got 8 shots attempted. However, they still have yet to hit the target. They have yet to force Xavier Valdez to make a stop. And it's potentially worth it to get those opportunities on net, because Xavier Valdez, throughout the entire 2024 season, has only stopped 2/3 of the shots that have gone towards his way. You potentially get 3 of those 7 opportunities on net, and we could potentially be talking about a much different game with the amount of opportunities that Bell and Paul have connected with each other, especially deep inside of that Houston end, especially with the way they've been playing and driving towards the box and really trying to pressure things upfield. But it's also kind of a double-edged sword as well, because with every single opportunity that Real Monarchs have had, it has also allowed Houston the opportunity to counterattack. And the booking goes for Diego Gonzalez for essentially not allowing Monarchs an opportunity to have the space they need to get the ball off.
Yellow card caution, Houston, number 18, Diego Gonzalez.
So Gonzalez gets the booking in the 41st. And that's for a Houston team who has the second lowest mark in terms of yellow cards. So with Dynamo, they're not going to pressure you so aggressively that they might get some yellows. But they look to attack aggressively as Bell is on it. Bell drives in, wide at the back post for Paul, but Valdez is able to make the stop. Dynamo 2, they're the only team in the Western Conference who have yet to win in regulation. They are now one of 2 teams in MLS Next Pro without a win in regulation, the other one being Huntsville, who are the lone team in the East. Now galloping up ahead is Sila, pitches out wide, Sargent back for Sila, but couldn't find it as it was disrupted by Omar Alba. And Hazakani just continues to get jostled at the whole way through, just kind of getting prodded at the whole way. And it provides a set piece opportunity for Real Monarchs. Storley getting heavily pressured. And this is what we've been talking about with Dynamo 2. They will pressure you, they will get in your face. They just might not necessarily do so in a, for lack of a better term, overly aggressive way, as they are pretty much middle of the pack in terms of fouls, and they have the second fewest yellows. So they'll press you, they'll try to make things difficult. When it's all said and done, what will be the formula to crack either Mackey or Valdez first? A quick takedown and a loose ball, chased that by Arzu before it gets driven away by Mackey. An opportunity for Houston. Bourbano gets the touch up. Arzu couldn't quite get a hang on. And a complaint from Dynamo Dos that there should be a foul at the top of the area, but they're unable to get that opportunity. But Monarchs playing tight inside their own end. Dynamo continue to pressure up every time they get a touch on. A little bit of breathing room comes for Hazakani. Hazakani gets triple teamed, and Dynamo win it back, wanting the outless pass, but unable to get Gonzalez. Some credit to the Real Salt Lake organization as a whole, as the MLS top team is in the top of the Western Conference. The Real Monarchs side of the MLS Next Pro, they, with a win in either regulation or in a shootout, can put them into a playoff position. And with that will end the first half. No extra time needed, as this was just a straight 45 from end to end. We are scoreless here in Harriman, where Real Monarchs and Houston Dynamo 2 are currently scoreless at the half. Coming up, Michelle visits the coach's corner when we come back.
Vamos, dale pues, vamos allá, muévete más loco como solo tú lo sabes. Así es, pon las manos en la cabeza, sacúdete, 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 mira, sacúdete.
Really sweet. Ahí está el centro. Gol. Para Maxi Mesa para pegarle. Maxi le pegó. Fuerza. Al frente. Servicio. El tiro. It's saved by Carlos Corner. Con autoridad el centro. A la izquierda en las afueras del área. Le pega. Golazo. Externa, va a definir Chicho.
The hottest ticket.
And we're back here in Harriman, Utah at Zions Bank Stadium. We are scoreless between Real Monarchs and Houston Dynamo 2. And Michelle Montaigne had a chat with St. Louis City 2 manager Bobby Murphy on her recent visit to St. Louis. The latest on Coach's Corner.
So excited to be joined by Bobby Murphy, head coach of St. Louis City 2. We're here at City Park. Because you are such a fascinating man, Bobby, we're going to ask you just one soccer question before we get to the good stuff.
All right.
In terms of the on-the-field stuff when it comes to this club, expectations are always high. You guys have made it to the playoffs in the 2 years you've competed prior to this one. As you come in, knowing what you guys were able to do last season and then into the postseason, how do you kind of manage the pressure going into year 2 for you?
I don't see it as pressure. I think pressure is opportunity. Like, it's just opportunity to see how good we can be. And, you know, we have a saying around here, pressure busts pipes or makes diamonds. And so we're trying to make diamonds here. You know, and I think, I don't feel any pressure. I think, you know, at times, because of the fan support and that our kids get to play in front of people, we're preparing them for pressure. You know, I think because of the expectations that they feel of wanting to do well, I think we're preparing them to cope with pressure. But I think we're just in a really good place where we can enjoy ourselves and just see how good we can be.
Was that a Bobby Murphy original statement?
I don't think so. I stole it. I'm sure I stole it from somewhere.
In talking with Michael just a little bit ago, I asked him, what is your favorite thing about getting to play for Bobby? And he said the environment here, the teamwork, the culture that you've kind of fostered is really good. What do you think makes this group special, and what do you think makes this club so special so quickly? I think as much as we, when I say we, the club, or me, my group, want to perform on the field at a high level, I think it's always been about people first. You want good people in the building. You want to work with good people. You want to share experiences with good people. People who understand that it's not just all about them, that it's a journey, and it takes everybody to help everyone succeed. So, I think Michael, I'm grateful and flattered to hear him say that, but I think he's also a big part of that, with his experiences and being able to come in and share them with younger players. And, I think I'm really big on people. Well, perfect. Then let's get to know the person behind Bobby Murphy. I know there are a lot of things we could use to describe you. Foodie, trivia king. How would you describe what makes Bobby Murphy Bobby?
I think, one, making sure that we do our best to enjoy every day. And, we all plan for the future, and we plan for this, and we plan for that, but really, this is all we have, so let's do our best to stay right here, right now. And if I could do that fully, I think I'd be much happier, but I do the best I can. I think the other part is differentiating the work from life. I think when our whole identities are wrapped up in this profession and this game, which can easily happen, that it can consume you. And I've learned through hard times that this is what I do. It's not who I am. And having said that, to take the work seriously, but not to take myself too seriously. To make sure that we enjoy it and we do the best we can, and we train and we prepare and we work hard. But we do that with, I tell them all the time, just go forth with joy in your heart and a smile on your face, and, we'll see how it goes.
You work hard, you play hard, you do your best on the pitch, and then you go to a local place for post-match food, right?
Yes, we always support local businesses here at St. Louis City. Sorry, corporate America, but we're locals only.
Okay, so favorite post-game meal so far, as a part of St. Louis City, too?
Oh, I'm a big fan of the Vietnamese place we get from Delmar, over on the Delmar Loop. I think it's really good. They make
here in St. Louis?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They make me a special banh mi because I like banh mi, so that's really good. On the road, I'm trying to think what the best ones we had.
Yeah, we can take a list here.
We keep it pretty simple. It's pretty simple on the road, but the best post-match meal I had that wasn't with the team was in Vancouver at the Noodle House. We went to a Chinese noodle house. It was really good.
Is that like ramen?
No, it was more like thicker Chinese noodles that they make from scratch right there. You can watch them make them. It was one of those places where the lady is yelling at everybody in Chinese and then turns around and speaks to us in English like we didn't just witness all the yelling, welcome. You're like, oh, yeah. And so they make the noodles from scratch, and then I had noodles dipped in chili oil. So I just had a bowl of chili oil, spicy chili oil, and thick noodles. It was great.
Okay, I do know that one of the...
Tatsuya in Austin, ramen.
Oh, there's no comparison. Yeah, okay. Can confirm.
Extra egg.
Okay, can we at least just talk about the Ethiopian experience in Seattle and how the boys reacted to that?
Yes. Well, I do. We try and provide experiences here and help the players realize that there's a lot to this great world. And so we went for Ethiopian food because we got to Seattle 2 days early, and it was a new experience for a lot of them. And we walk in and they weren't ready, and it was very local, and there was a family-run affair, and they were so excited and happy that we came to visit them. And so they started cooking as we got there, and so it took a while. And so some people were getting a little hangry, and but once the food came out, to see the boys open up to the idea of something new and really enjoying it and becoming okay with being uncomfortable, I guess, and coming through the other side of having enjoyed something. I think, that's just part of the bonus of this job, is you get to help young people find their way a little bit.
Do you also help them learn more trivia? Since you're such
we do have trivia nights.
Okay.
We do have trivia nights on the road.
Yeah.
We divide the teams of 5, 1 staff member per team, and I'm the quiz master, and and they do pretty good. So we try and mix up the questions so that we have everything from 16-year-olds to grown men. So we got to mix up the questions a little bit, try so everybody can participate. But
who's the best at trivia on the team other than you? All of them, clearly.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to, like last year we had a clear standout.
Who was that?
Sergio was unbelievable.
Okay.
But that's WashU for you. They all do well in their different things.
Different categories.
Yeah, so like with the math questions, you know, like the algebra and the geometry, they get all excited, and then there's got a few sports trivia heads who get all excited. So, yeah, they do all right.
Favorite thing about either this group or this club?
I just love this group to bits. Like, it is rare, having done this for so long, right? And it's even more of a challenge. I think my peers in this league would agree that the challenge of dealing with anywhere from adolescent teenagers to college graduates and dealing with them on a daily basis can be a challenge for sure. I mean, the difference between 24 and 28 isn't huge, but the difference between 16 and 20 is massive. And to have a group that has come together so quickly, that enjoys each other's company, that works hard, you know, it's just always brings us, every day brings a smile to my face that we get the opportunity to work with this group. So, you know, and they've bought into working, and they've bought into how we do things here. And, you know, I think we're just sort of scratching the surface of what they're capable of, and, you know, whether it's here or wherever their careers take them. But I just hope, you know, I hope it's at the end of it's as rewarding for them. They'll look back as it has been for us so far. That's the staff.
Well, we're super excited to see how far you guys can take it.
Yeah, we're excited too.
Thanks so much, Bobby.
Thank you very much. Enjoy it.
We're back here in Harriman, Utah at Zions Bank Stadium. It's a 0-0 draw at the moment between Real Monarchs and Houston Dynamo 2. And this is not the only match on the docket for these two sides, as they both will have the rest of the week off. They won't have anything going on this weekend, but there are stuff coming up for the rest of the week as we take a look at the remainder of the match week 9 schedule. So they're off on the weekend because they are both playing midday. But there's going to be a lot of interesting matches on how things can potentially shake out down the line. A lot of teams looking to really hold their position, or really maybe take an advance upward into how things can go. You know, there are teams like LAFC 2 in that 4 o'clock slot who are looking to keep up that top spot in the Western Conference, while Chattanooga FC, the independent side, surprising probably most people in the MLS Next Pro, taking on Inter Miami 2. They look to head down to Fort Lauderdale and potentially walk away, remaining on top of the Eastern Conference. As we also have that one match on Monday at 3 as well, between Chicago Fire 2 and NY City FC 2. Talk about them. They got their win in the Open Cup against the Colorado Springs Switchbacks, but they were able to blank out the Colorado Springs Switchback. NYCF2 were, and we are blanked out across the board between Real Monarchs and Houston Dynamo 2. First half highlights and stats are next, and we'll be back.
Messi! ¡Manda la pelota para que quede!
It's contact and a shot
¡Mamita querida, qué golazo! Capitán! Magnifique frappe! Really, really sweet. Ahí está el centro. ¡Gol! Para Maxi Mesa para pegarle. Maxi le pegó. Huerta, Andrete. Servicio, el tiro.
Con autoridad el centro. A la izquierda en las afueras del área le pega, golazo.
Amor al gol.
Parte externa, va a definir un Chicho.
Despite a scoreless match between the Real Monarchs and Houston Dynamo 2, there has been some action between these two sides as Benny Redzet looks to start things off early but was unable to hit the frame. He was either getting his first assist or a second goal, take your pick. But Matt Ball and Elijah Paul, they've been going at it all night. Paul sends it overhead, not once on that right side. He holds again, and then he sends it over the bar a second time. But it's not for a lack of trying, as Matt Ball tries one more time. And this time, Matt Ball leaves it for Elijah Paul once again. That is 3 shot attempts for Elijah Paul. None have hit the frame. But expect that connection of Matthew Bell to Elijah Paul to potentially take over this match. A little bit of a false start off of the jump as Jordi Bourbano was a little bit quick as we are underway for half number 2. Real Monarchs in the blue, left to right. Houston Dynamo 2 in the orange from right to left. They will poke that one out of play right out of the gate. So that connection, as we saw in the halftime highlights of Matthew Bell and Elijah Paul, really going to play a factor potentially into how things will go for the remainder of the half, as they've just been dangerous, producing and creating opportunities to get Real Monarchs to 8 shot attempts on the half. However, none have hit the net, and that's going to be the key thing for Real Monarchs going forward, as an attempted press was made by Keller Storley but was unable to take it away, so it gets headed all the way back for William Mackey. Houston Dynamo 2, they have the lone shot on goal in the entirety of the match off of 3 attempts. They do have the edge in corners, so that could potentially spell in as walking in by hitting the outside of the frame. That was Benny Redzek trying his luck. So no substitutions for either side at the half. Doesn't mean they don't play a factor down the line, but with a match like how things are today, 47 degrees, it's actually dropped down to 43. Wind a little consistent, just shy of double-digit mile per hour from the near side to the far. But a strip away comes for Houston. Brooklyn Range leaves it, and a tackle gets slid out of bounds. And they say that last went off of Farnsworth, so it provides a Houston throw. Houston have yet to score first in MLS Next Pro play. But that one just got sent in a little bit too far for the intended target, Gonzalez. And Mackey looking to go quick. That heavy pressure from Houston Dynamo can potentially play a factor down the line, as we saw Kieran Sargent getting all up in the face of his man, but provided the quick tackle. But Real Monarchs will take it back. Redzek, Bell. Bell goes up high, has Omar Alba. Forward finds Keller Storley. Now an acceleration comes for Matt Bell. Bell up in front, couldn't quite connect with Herzakani. Still kept in play by Kalaskan. Kalaskan elevates, it does Valdez. So both Xavier Valdez and William Mackey have both been really solid. As it's just left for Kieran Sargent, who's only about a week out from his 21st birthday. Opportunities have broken the back of the net for either side. Only 4 yellow cards to speak of at the half. 2 apiece. And it gets dropped down for Hazakani. Hazakani takes a stumble and loses possession. Opportunity to push up ahead for Sheila. Sargent, the former Georgetown Hoya, leaves it back for Makatuya. Awadesu gets past one man, slides it up ahead. Gonzalez leaves it behind. An opportunity to come near side. Sargent hesitates, centers. Gonzalez goes, but goes well over. These two sides have only played 4 times prior, and every single time it ended up with a win in the Houston Dynamo's column. This is the only time that these two sides will meet in 2024. As the last time that they met was back in July of 2023. That was a 5-3 win in favor of Houston, but no side has yet to take the advantage yet. Redzik looking to elude Ngema, and Ngema takes his man down. His referee saying it's all ball. Reigns. Both sides really running their offense through their defenders. It's kind of one of those things that both these two sides have really done a lot of, is that when they're kind of in that bind, their first instinct is essentially to go back to their defense and try to play things out. But this one's going to be played up for Sargent. Kieran Sargent eludes a man, drives into the box. Sargent stumbles. Sargent drives up ahead. No foul as it just falls right for the 16-year-old William Mackey. Charge up ahead. Burbano looking to make his threatening presence as he was up 1v2 trying to split the two defenders, but it's the wheels on Burbano. It was really what was essentially part of why Houston wanted to sign him, especially so late into the season. As we mentioned earlier, Houston in the tail end of a 4-game road trip before they head back home to Houston for back-to-back home games versus St. Louis City 2 and the Tacoma Defiance. Now Real Monarchs possess, but not for long. Driven up ahead. It gets taken away, Griffin Dillon. Kalaskan wanting to loft it ahead. Couldn't quite find the touch for Paul. And it comes out of play for another Monarchs throw. Both of these two have really completed a lot of passes up the field, and that's kind of been working for them. It's just getting those short passes in, just finding the next man as Bell tries to play it up for his man. That's Hazakani, but just a little bit too far as it will go against Real Monarchs and in the favor of Houston Dynamo.
Houston substitution in the 55th minute of play, leaving the match, number 70, Jordi Angulo, and number 39, David Cuema. Entering the match, number 5, Omar Gray, and number 9, Stephen Anor Jafami.
So a couple of substitutions come for Houston as they look to go quick. Houston charging up ahead. Steven Anor gets his first touch but couldn't quite keep it, so Brooklyn Reigns will have to play it back. So Bourbano, new signee, comes out but couldn't quite get a touch on. And this will provide an opportunity for a corner in favor of Houston. They have the 4-1 advantage on the corner. Sent in, still in the air, towards the net before that one gets taken out. A swing, and it comes right into the chest of Mackey. This portion of tonight's match is presented by Intermountain Health, the power of we. And the power on that foul was a little bit too excessive as it produces a whistle against Houston Dynamo, so Real Monarchs will take it back. Valdez. Awodesu. Obafemi Awodesu in his first pro season, the Penn State Nittany Lion, has a feed up ahead for Diego Gonzalez, but he takes contact. 1-on-1 against Noella Kalaskan. And Kalaskan will take the booking. Just another opportunity here. Gonzalez just got nicked in the back of the heel by Kalaskan. And Kalaskan, he's been playing so well, especially in recent form. He got an assist in last week's match versus LAFC to get his second to tie a career high. But he takes a yellow card. Wakatuya.
Yellow card caution to the Monarchs, number 92.
Awodesu powers this one up ahead. Opportunity for Arzu, but couldn't quite save it off the line. Last one off of a Real Monarch, so produces the 5th corner of the match. Sent in, headed down, blocked off by Paul. Now it's Matt Bell. Stripped away, Dynamo look to make something go. Bell has to clear. Still in the possession of Houston. Sebastian Rodriguez finds a man, Anor. Tried to go up, but gets swung at. Owodesu, good job keeping possession for Houston. And that eventually goes away. Another opportunity was a little bit too far, the attempt by Exxon Arzu. A quick takedown up ahead. And a whistle in favor of the Monarchs. Another pressure from Houston. As they take it away, drive up ahead, dropped off, gets picked up by Rodriguez. Rodriguez from distance, just getting a touch on it was Mackey. He had to make a save to keep the level, to keep the game level. A long-range shot from Sebastian Rodriguez. He really went for it, and William Mackey just gets a touch. Corner for Houston. We're just past the hour. No one's broken through either Mackey or Valdez. Is this the chance? Corner kick inward, hits the outside. So William Mackey can breathe a little easy. Long ball hits the feet of Elijah Paul. Elijah Paul comes in. Paul, wide angle. That's another shot attempt for Elijah Paul. That just goes on the outside of the frame. They've had so many chances, have Salt Lake, but they just have been unable to convert and even get these shots on frame. Speaking of the Monarchs, don't miss their next game on May 19th when they travel to Ventura County, California for VCFC's home opener at Cal Lutheran. Driving up ahead, disrupted, scooped up by Valdez. Cal Lutheran will host VCFC's home opener. Don't miss the action in Ventura County, California as the coverage of the historic night kicks off at 8 o'clock Eastern on MLS Season Pass. So we mentioned it's a 3-game homestand for Real Monarchs. They will take a 2-game road trip. Next up is Ventura County a week and a half from now, and then they follow up only 5 days after at North Texas SC. And then for Houston Dynamo 2, they've got a 2-game homestand against St. Louis City and Tacoma Defiance. So both these teams are going to be playing some top squads within the Western Conference of MLS Next Pro upcoming. St. Louis 2 is Houston's next opponent. They sit at 4th in the West. As that one is getting taken away, poked in and fly through. Real Monarchs strike first. Aiden Hezarkhani in his first season gets his first goal in MLS Next Pro action. And the question for Real Monarchs was, when will these balls hit the net? It took Aiden Hezarkhani off of the scrap right at the penalty spot to finally find its way through. The second shot on net finally beat Xavier Valdez, and Real Salt Lake take the opening goal. And a couple of substitutions as well. For Hezarkhani, it's lights out and then timeout. He gets on the bench, on the board, then onto the bench. A couple of subs made for Real Monarchs. As we see Benny Redzik coming off in favor of Omar Marquez. And it was just those opportunities coming and coming for Real Monarchs. They've been threatening for so long, and we kind of said it throughout the entire match. The question was, when will they finally break through, and when will they finally get one into the back of the net? Well, there's your answer. It took 63 minutes. Then Hezarkhani just heads straight to the bench afterward. Bell drives in, wanting to center, but couldn't quite find an available option. So a couple of midfields swapped out. Omar Marquez takes the place of Benny Redzik, the 16-year-old from Woodland, California.
Leaving the match, number 39, Aiden Hezarkhani.
And then you've also got Damian Barker John from Queens, New York, leads this team in goals. Ironically enough, they have the lead, and they added more goal-scoring firepower in the form of Damian Barker John, 47. He sits at the top of the area. Off the corner, disrupted by Houston, but kept inside of the Houston end by Real Monarchs. A little bit too far to the reach of Barker John, so it just hits the hands of Valdez. He wants to go out quick, trying to get Arzu to turn on the Jets. And it last gets clipped off of the defender, Bobby Pierre, and goes out of play. This portion of tonight's match is presented by America First, the official credit union of Real Salt Lake. America First has game-changing solutions for every financial need, so join the winning team today at americafirst.com. Speaking of Real Salt Lake, they took their Open Cup match against New Mexico United into a loss by a score of 4-2. But Real Monarchs, they hold a lead 1-0 against Houston Dynamo 2. As we mentioned a little bit earlier, Houston Dynamo 2, they have yet to score first all season long. And the only time they did resulted in a regulation loss. Monarchs are 1-1-0 when scoring first, so it really curries favor both ways, that at least in terms of the trends of how the season have gone to this point, it can definitely carry on the way it already has. But we've also seen some opportunities from MLS Next Pro teams to really step up to the plate and really show what they've been made of. As we kind of talk about the Open Cup again, New York City FC2 taking down Colorado Springs Switchbacks, and even Carolina Core getting their first regulation win earlier today as well. But Houston charging up ahead, and a sliding tackle comes out of play. Noel Caliscan had to be decisive on that tackle, and he was. Corner for Houston, and when you see a guy like Axon Arzo just really accelerating along that end line, you never know what's going to come from it. What's going to come from this corner is a short one. And the return feed got sent away. So on that 63rd minute goal, not only did Aiden Hezarkhani get his first goal in MLS Next Pro action, but Griffin Dillon was credited with an assist. That's his first of 2024. And the 21-year-old from Draper, Utah, in his second season with the Real Monarchs, making his contribution felt by setting up Hezarkhani on that opening goal. Now a setup in front, gets scored off the header, and Dynamo have leveled this game at 1. We've been seeing these type of set pieces all night for Dynamo 2, and they finally break through. It's off of the header on the run from the top of the box.
Dynamo goal, number 21, Osmani.
And it's Osumani Sila who gets his first goal in MLS Next Pro play. And we are tied at 1. Ousmane Sila, he's been on a tear as of late. He got an assist in that game-tying goal to Diego Gonzalez off of that 1-1 draw to force that game into a 1-1 draw against Town FC in the 90+6. This time it was Gonzalez to Sila. Now another opportunity for Houston. A little bit too high for Diego Gonzalez. And a quick talking to by the sub-on, Stephen Honor, by the head official. As Houston continues to press on that defensive end. Just lifting that one ahead before it gets shut down by Kalaskan. And a foul against Houston will give Real Monarchs a chance to breathe. And Noel Kalaskan, was walking a little gingerly off of that stoppage, but he takes the ball back all the way from Mackey. Range has a setup opportunity. Sila drops it off. One is Sargent. Keeps that one just barely in play, but not for long. Sila wanted to potentially add to that initial goal, potentially with an assist. So just when it looked like things were coming to a head, and just when it looked like Real Monarchs were potentially going to break through, it didn't take much longer after that for Houston Dynamo to eventually respond. A 69th minute header goal from Ousmane Sila. And now an opportunity for Monarchs to take the lead, but that one was right into the chest of Xavier Valdez. Xavier Valdez having to come up big in a couple of spots, as has William Mackey. He's made a couple stellar saves himself. And a quick whistle towards center. Now this game is starting to show a little bit more of what it actually is supposed to be. At least, rather, what you'd expect. Of the 10 shot attempts for Houston Dynamo, 5 have hit the net, 1 have beaten Mackey. And for Real Monarchs, they've taken 11 swings at the net, but only 2 have been within the woodwork and getting past Valdez once. And a little bit of a discussion as to the placement of the spot on the stoppage. It's Sargent. Sent up ahead, top of the area before it gets lifted down. An overhead kick to evacuate the ball from Alba. But Dynamo still have it once again. Sargent, back post, headed in, stopped by Mackey. But it was offside anyways. What a sequence for Houston Dynamo 2. They're trying to really threaten here. And Kieran Sargent will take a spot on the bench as the 2023 draftee, Isaiah Reed, will enter the match. Okay. As it comes out wide, an option comes. Charging up ahead. Monarchs gets turned over. Sebastian Rodriguez will just elevate this one up and out. This portion of the match is brought to you by Zions Bank, the official bank of Real Monarchs. They currently hold a 1-0 lead here at Zions Bank Stadium against Houston Dynamo 2. Real Monarchs want to cap off a 3-game homestand with their second win during the stretch, while Houston Dynamo 2, if they can potentially score another, would be on their way to the first win in regulation. But galloping forward is Paul. Has Alba. Omar Alba up in front, gets blocked away, as that one just falls out of play for a Monarchs throw. Alba. Short throw. Trap down. Paul. Goes end to end for Farnsworth. Farnsworth tried to potentially take a 2-1 lead, but that one was just too far off of the miss. Omar Gray getting pestered. He's come off the bench. He's trying to escape, and it just comes right into the feet of Griffin Dillon, who had an assist on that first goal from Aiden Hezakani. Unable to trap it is Dillon. Gonzalez takes a spill. No whistle. Back to Omar Alba. Good to see Dillon back on his feet as he took an awkward tumble earlier. But Exxon Arzu plays it back. He's got Gray. Arzu with it again. Puts the gas on it and still has some more. Arzu wanted to set it up in front for a potential tip-in by Anor, but it was last played off of the Real Monarchs. And another corner kick for Houston Dynamo. So Griffin Dillon is getting guarded one-on-one. Ball comes up and goes out of play, but it last went off of the Houston Dynamo, so Real Monarchs will get the throw. And Griffin Dillon will exit the match while Luka Moisa will take his place. The 16-year-old from Vegas in his 5th match of the season. And it's the first match for Moisa where he hasn't had a start. Makatuya for Odasu. 10 minutes to go in regulation. We're still tied at 1. If it stays this way, we'll go to penalties where Houston Dynamo, they're very familiar. They've gone back-to-back off of penalties. They haven't won in regulation since November 24th of 2023 in a 2-1 win versus LA Galaxy 2. As LA Galaxy 2, now Ventura County FC, are Real Monarchs' next opponent. Ten to go in regulation. Quick swing from Rodriguez. Able to elude the initial defender is Moisa before it goes trickling away from Marquez. Dynamo steal it right back and look to transition on the offense. Reed. Goes all the way back towards the defensive line. Diego Gonzalez wants to play it up for Isaiah Reed. Reed into the box! And that's the second goal for Dynamo! They take the 2-1 lead! Steven Anor gets his second goal of the season, his first since his first game of the season. A nice little chip pass up for Reed, just finds the back post for Steven Anor. And for Houston Dynamo 2, they are mere minutes away from getting their first win in regulation. The 82nd minute for Houston Dynamo 2. Their first win of the season was last week versus Town FC. That was off of the PKs, so it technically does not count as a win. If Dynamo 2 hang on, this will be their first win of 2024. Kalaskan. Alba. Takes a touch. Rodriguez has to make a quick stutter step. Plays it back for Reed. And Reed wanting to go long again to set up Anor. Anor gets disrupted along the way by Bobby Pierre. Kalaskan. Griffin Anor in his first professional season from the University of Virginia. He's got 7 matches under his belt and 2 goals for the 20-year-old from Ghana. He scored in his first match played against LAFC 2 back on the 24th of March.
Monarch substitution in the 84th minute.
And now Mark Lowry wanting to potentially change things up as Omar Alba takes a seat for the 24-year-old from Bolivia, Jelmar Joffrey. That's the 4th substitution for the Monarchs. Dynamo have only used a triple. Comes out wide, Damian Barker-John. He escapes his first man. Barker-John wants an option before it gets taken away by Sebastian Rodriguez. Back for Moisa. Went the wrong way, it got picked off. 5 minutes to go in regulation. Diego Gonzalez. And Reed plays it back from Wakatuya. Diego Gonzalez, 2 assists on the day. 1 towards Steven Honor, and the other one towards Asame Celia. Now a bouncer, couldn't get held on, so Real Monarch looked to make a transition play. Farnsworth, Moisa. You have to look back towards the end of March and the beginning of April for the last time that Real Monarchs have taken back-to-back losses. It was on the 14th of April against Town FC and the 19th against St. Louis. But they look to bounce back as it's Barker John gets past a quartet of defenders. Barker John goes for goal, but he's missed his shot. And Xavier Valdez will take his sweet, sweet time as Houston Dynamo 2, if they hold on for the next 3.5 minutes, will earn their first win in regulation. We saw it from Carolina Core in Atlanta. However, at least for Carolina Core, they won at least once in this season in the U.S. Open Cup. That was back on March 21st against longtime MLS veteran Bill Hamid in Northern Virginia of League Two. Carolina got their first win earlier. Now Houston looked to do the same. A quick pitch in for Gonzalez, but a little bit too far ahead. Gonzalez trying to argue for a corner kick. But a set piece comes all the way back as that appears to be Brooklyn Reigns, who is limping. And we saw this earlier from Diego Gonzalez. He set up the first goal for Sila.
Yellow card caution, Real Monarchs, number 34, Luca Moisa.
And Luca Moisa on the scrap gets his first yellow card of his MLS Next Pro career. In the 88th minute, Houston have a 2-1 lead. Diego Gonzalez has an assist already. Could Houston Dynamo potentially try to put the nail in the coffin? Gonzalez, too far for anyone in orange. But it's being juggled around, unable to be held on. As the last gets played off by Houston. Storley. Caliscan. Real Monarchs look to tie this game up. Looking for a long pass ahead for Damian Barker John. Barker John goes across, headed down, and a second shot goes. Loose ball still. Barker John settles before Houston eventually send that one away. Anon wanted to advance, but couldn't quite find a target. So it comes for Bell. Return pass for Bell, but coming out of his net is Valdez. Xavier Valdez looking for his first win in net and the first win for the Houston Dynamo. He was in net for that PK win versus Town FC last week. And potentially Kenny Bundy might have found something considering how many shots Real Monarch have taken versus how many have had to be strong against Valdez. But another long ball comes up ahead. Damian Barker John just barely saves off the end line, but not necessarily as it still goes out of play anyways. 15 shot attempts for Real Monarchs. And only one has beaten Xavier Valdez. We've got an extra 5 in Harriman. Monarchs really wanting those extra 3 points, or at least to take it to penalties and potentially get 2 to get themselves back above the playoff line. And Houston just wanting to get their first regulation win. Bell wanted the touch pass. Finds its way for Storley. Barker John. Eyed by Reed. Barker John eludes a man. Sends it up in front. Return. Barker John. Saved by Valdez. Second chance gets cleared away. And eventually Anand sends that one as far as he can. Chasing back is Kaliskan. Mackey. 3.5 to go in stoppage. Can Real Monarchs force penalties? Houston Dynamo scored twice in about a dozen minutes. After Real Monarchs scored the opener in the 63rd, Barker John cleared off by Awadesu. And a throw-in comes for Real Monarchs. And the substitution gets taken by Houston Dynamo. Exxon Arzu is done for the night. And the 17-year-old Maddox Finley makes his debut as a professional. Throw-in finds its way back for Bobby Pierre. Pitches up ahead for Kaliskan. Pierre. 93 minutes of a possible 5. Elevates, headed on, rebound, gets swung away by Houston. Capped inside by Omar Marquez. Bell couldn't get past his defender. It's Kaliskan, back for Bell. Bell wanting to push ahead. Marquez! Might have gotten a touch off from Valdez. And it's going to be a corner in favor of Real Monarchs. This is their second of the game. Just barely gets the fingertips of Valdez off of the feet of Omar Marquez. And now another chance to serve in. Goes off of a deflection. Loose ball, no one able to get it clear. Goes for Damian Barker John. Another service center, but poked away by Houston. Everyone in the Dynamo, they're just staying within the 12 and 6 of the box. Centering feed goes away. "95 minutes of 5. As of right now, it's the game winner from Steven Honor in the 82nd minute. Driving in front, blocked away, no one able to get clean possession. About 30 seconds plus. Marquez plays it back, Moisa. Moisa wanting to serve in, but it's rejected by Dynamo. Another opportunity for Real Monarchs. Elijah Paul. Marquez. Stutter step. Into the box. Headed out. And Dynamo eventually clear. And we're back to center, and that will do it. Dynamo have been dynamic. Their first win in regulation of the 2024 season comes on the road at Zions Bank Stadium. 2-1 the final. And the man of the match is brought to you by Adidas. And after it was stalled at 1-1, it was this play, started from Diego Gonzalez, eventually gets touched up in front by Steven Honor. And Steven Honor with his second goal in his first professional season. The 20-year-old Ghanaian gets it done for Houston Dynamo 2 to get them up ahead and gives Houston back-to-back wins for the first time since July to August of 2023. Real Monarchs with 1, Houston Dynamo 2 with 2. For all of us in our entire MLS Next Pro crew, my name is Ryan Lee. You can watch all the MLS Next Pro action on MLS Season Pass, Apple TV, and MLSNextPro.com. Thank you for joining us. Dynamo 2 get their first win of the season. Thank you for joining us, and have a great rest of your night.
This copyrighted broadcast of Major League Soccer may not be retransmitted, reproduced, or rebroadcast without the express written consent of Major League Soccer.